And we're live with some more Jonesing for Sports action. Just three brothers mixing it up in the studio. We got some shower thoughts for you, but we're also going to be bringing it back to the Juwan Howard debate. Might even have a little funeral for Michigan basketball while we're at it. I'd say cue the sad funeral music, but let's be honest, this basketball team doesn't even deserve it. In the words of the great NF, you know that's not my casket. Trash bag's buried somewhere out in the back. So let's get into it, and let's discuss some dirty Michigan basketball.
That was a good NF quote there, Code.
Thank you. I don't even know what song that is, but I think that line goes hard.
Everything NF says goes hard. Underrated.
He does not mess around.
Mm-mm. I liked your intro part, Code, where you were talking about... We'll talk about this later when we get into the in memoriam of Michigan basketball, but I was thinking about what I wanted to do this weekend, talking to Hannah, and I was like, you know what? Michigan plays Michigan State, and the tickets probably will be the cheapest that game will be in a while, maybe. And then I had a reality check myself and went, why would I go to that right now? Why would I put myself through that?
Some habits die hard. You can't blame you for it, but
it's still fun to go to the games, but man, this team has just killed me. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, though.
That's a difficult reality to grapple with, because there are some teams, like the Tigers are a prime example of, you know, it's a night and day difference watching a team on the TV and being in Tiger Stadium. But man, after so many years, it just didn't even pop into my head anymore. Of like, I wonder if I can find cheap Tigers tickets. Like, win me back. You guys don't deserve my attention. So, like, to have that happen to a Michigan team that we love so dearly, that stings a little bit. It's going to take some time. That's a tough pill to swallow.
You know, speaking of Tigers, I saw some reports from spring training. Guess who's in the best shape of their life?
Even before he reports, isn't it just pitchers and catchers right now, and they're already reporting that he's in the best shape of his life?
Best shape of his life.
For his last year.
We'll get Cody back
Brand,
to the ballpark.
You got me. You got me.
We do need to go to some Tiger games this year, good or bad, because it's Mickey's last year, to send him off in the right way.
I mean, I was just going to say, I said I hadn't even thought about Tigers tickets in a while, but we did go just last year to see hit number 3,000. And so, yeah, if there's one man that can get me back in the seats, it would be Miggy.
It would be Riley Green for me. I'm a bad fan. Get out of here, the past. I'm here for the future.
I just hope our young guns can stay healthy and strike out a little bit less. That'd be beautiful.
I'm just happy that the Tigers are moving in the fences just a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But just a little bit is going to be a lot more home runs.
Someone needs to run the stats on how many more home runs Miggy would have.
No.
Yeah, just
don't
to get us excited about this change. Because how many did he hit to deep center? He was the king of deep center field shots.
Him and Prince Fielder together probably would have had 50 more home runs that year. Prince Fielder would fly out to the warning track once a game.
Miggy doesn't deserve to see that stat on his Twitter feed one day. He only gets it for 1 year. Do we know when they're moving those fences in? He will get to experience it, right?
Yeah, they're doing it right now this offseason.
Just wanted to make sure. He will get at least his 1 year. But, man, that's just cruel. How much time he spent here in Detroit, how many home runs robbed. I don't want to see that stat. I think it'd make me sick.
Well, boys, I have a shower thought for you.
I'm ready for it.
Love it.
So, Super Bowl Sunday, I basically watched the game by myself because Brianna and Eden did not care one bit. But it was the Super Bowl, so I had to make some good food. And I happened to make the best batch of chicken wings I've ever made. I made one with like my super secret wing rub recipe, the Jonesy special, and then I made another batch that was just regular buffalo, and both were just so out of the park good that it got my mind kind of working. What is the best Super Bowl food or like football food? Because I think I was right about there with those chicken wings, but I know there's something I'm missing. And I was asking you guys to help me out.
We didn't plan this at all, but you shoot this down if it's going to take too much time, you're not interested, or you want more time to plan for it. You want to do just a super quick, like 2-round snake draft of Super Bowl foods.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Only if you go.
yes.
Only if you go third.
I'll go third.
I'm
That's
just
okay.
kidding. I just wanted to be a d-bag. All right.
I liked it.
I'm 1. You're 2. You're 3.
Who's 3? Me?
You are. Siri,
Okay.
pick a number between 1 and 3. What'd I say? You are.
I'm 3.
Okay. Brandon, you get to go first. Number 2.
Oh,
I'm 1.
thanks, Siri.
I'm 1. You're 2.
I'm in the middle?
Siri,
Oh.
pick a number between 1 and 2.
Okay.
This is a little difficult because
I'm 1.
You're 1?
So you go third.
Okay.
just as
what
I
thought you were
foretold.
saying.
I was
I
the one
love
kind
the
of
middle
proposing
spot.
this question, and now I have to answer it with my first draft pick.
I'm trying not to look up like a list of Super Bowl foods. I'm trying. It's only 2 rounds.
I've
We
got
gotta be
like
able to do
my
this.
top
So,
3. I'm
this
gonna
is-
struggle for 6, I think.
This is very
Maybe
specific
not.
to us. I loved my chicken wings, and yet I do think that there was one food greater than that I would kind of wish I had, and that is my wife's stromboli. If you're not
great
familiar with
choice.
stromboli, it's basically like a giant pizza pocket. It's got
It's so good.
It's got cheese and ham and salami and mushrooms and other things that just it's a party in your mouth. And I've never regretted eating stromboli. So that's my number 1 pick, stromboli.
The Detroit Lions aren't even on the clock yet, and they're already sprinting to the podium to take chicken wings
Darn it.
at number 2.
And the NFL is calling to reprimand them for going too quickly and ruining the show.
Don't care. Got our boy, the chicken wing.
That's solid.
Wings are synonymous with football, man. Also, a quick question. Are you guys both bone in over bone out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured as much. I'm a bone out guy.
So I didn't used to be. I used to be a chicken nugget lover like you.
What's wrong with a good chicken nugget?
Nothing. I
If you
used to
tell
be
me
like
it's a
you.
chicken nugget, I'm
But-
like, cool. Give
And-
me more chicken nuggets.
It's because I have a thing with like messy food. Like I love burgers, but when it gets too big, I prefer like 1 patty because I can eat it. And if it's 2-3 patties, like, or it's too like extravagant and tall,
bone in
I
is
don't
messier.
want that. That's what I'm saying. That's why I used to not like them. Then I realized I was being a little wuss, and bone-in is so good.
I think my problem is that people tell me, like, they will die on this hill that bone in is a million times better than bone out. And I mean, there's a chance that's a little better, but I don't see much of a difference. Except it's easier to eat my chicken nuggets. So that's where I'm at.
That's a great pick, Code. I had some guys over to watch the Super Bowl, and I didn't even think about another food to get. I got wings from B-Dubs. So that, for me, that's probably my number 1 pick. But if it's got to be number 2, there's 2 that stick out in my mind really strongly. The second is just the easiest. It's a party food. Brandon kind of was there, but I'm going even more generic. Just pizza.
Yeah.
If I'm going to go specific, homemade pizza from our mom is the best pizza in the world. If you haven't had it ever before, most of you listening haven't.
Shout out Tear Bear.
Shout out, Mom. Mother's Day coming up here in a few months. Greatest pizza ever. But yeah, pizza's got to be my number 1 pick. Oh, I get to go again. Let's go, snake draft. I thought I was going to miss out on this. Number 2 is nachos for me.
Okay.
Nachos is a party food again. When I think about just having people and finger foods and a party, nachos is where my mind goes as well.
I am really torn on this one. All right. F it. So I'm going to go with ribs.
Good choice.
I love me some good savory meats. And, like, ribs or like brisket, however you want to do it. Ribs are a bit cheaper. Both so good. You can make Sammy's out of it later on, but I don't think that's something everybody necessarily does for Super Bowl or any football game. But when you do, it takes it to another level.
Brandon, last pick. Are you excited where you're at, or are you stretching?
Well, because there's kind of two that I'm split between. And both of them, I kind of have questions if they qualify. So I'll just go with one that's probably the easiest. Travis said nachos. Would chips and dip be too similar?
No, that was actually what I was waffling between.
Yeah,
was
you can go chips and dip.
Chips and dip. There's so many different dips. My favorite dip is probably going to be like a buffalo chicken. But if you can go guacamole, you can go some type of like a what do you call that when you mix the salsa and the cheese, like a rotel. But it's very versatile and
wasn't thinking rotel at all.
No.
Well, there's a name for it. I can't think, but
I know. But you gave
pink dip. Is that what you're talking about?
No, pink dip's for potato chips. I'm talking tortilla chips.
Okay.
Specifically though, like if you have a chips and dip on like a Wednesday, you're just like, eh. If you're having chips and dip while you're watching the game, it is 10 times better. I can't explain it. And you can eat the whole bag of chips. And it's great. So I'll go chips and dip, and I'll be pretty happy with it. But my second pick, probably what Cody kind of mentioned it. If you get brisket, it's probably actually the best food you can have. But there's so much work involved. So I'll just go with the simple chips and dip.
I gotta say, Cody Dip not getting a shout out in that segment is outlandish.
Our family has a dip that we've had along forever. There was a friend of the family named Debbie. Shout out Debbie Reed. The dip used to be called Debbie Dip.
It's not your dip anymore, Debbie.
Cody took it over.
Sorry.
It is now Cody Dip. It doesn't roll off the tongue quite as good as Debbie Dip.
No, Debbie Dip works.
But it doesn't matter.
But I put in work on a bowl of Debbie Dip because I will eat an entire, not serving, like the whole portion, whatever you call it.
No one else gets any when Cody's there.
It's my toxic trait.
Are there some honorable mentions that we missed? One of them that jumps out at me that we didn't pick was just like a cheese board. Just cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
Get some summer sausage in there.
Yeah. Just cheese crackers. Some
for
meat.
Sure. Meatballs. I think meatballs are kind of
skip meatballs.
Just the right meatballs
all around.
The kinds that we usually have.
Get me barbecue meatballs. Get me meatballs in the cream and mushroom soup. Either way,
the cream and mushroom soup meatballs,
so good, so good. You're missing out, Bran.
I like meatballs. I don't know. They're not my favorite when it comes to game day food.
I eat enough of those cream and mushroom meatballs. I'm fine if you want to name those Travis's balls, like your dip. So give me that name.
I'll stew on that.
I will still avoid them.
Really? That rebrand
did not
sway your bite. You're not going to bite Travis's balls, huh?
I'm not.
This is going off the rails real quick.
Any others? There's so many good. That's one of the things that makes the Super Bowl great is the food. The game
honestly,
itself.
Like that's kind of what's brought this question to my mind because yes, the wings were great. I was furious with the ending of that game because it was so great. Like everything that the Eagles were doing, I was just loving. And then obviously like the Chiefs are just this juggernaut. And so it's just this epic cosmic battle. And to end the way it did, I was just sick. And then I thought to myself, you know what? For the majority of the night, I loved this game. I adored these wings that I wouldn't have made otherwise. And it just made me appreciate the absurdity of it all. That we sit around, we make all this great food just for the game. And even if the game's a little disappointing, we still had that fantastic food. So thank you, Super Bowl Foods, for being the true heroes.
Speaking of the Super Bowl, your recap was enough on it, but I want to ask you guys about the halftime show because
Did not watch.
I watched. Oh, you didn't watch it?
Nope, I was making a second batch of wings.
Good priorities.
Yep, agreed.
Did you see it?
I did.
Okay, so I was watching with a bunch of guys, and we came away from it thinking, didn't blow me away. The music was awesome. The stage was awesome. It looked like a Super Smash Bros. Stage, just with all the tears floating in the air.
I like those.
That was really cool. The music...
They should have been fighting each other up there, though. That would have been...
They should have been.
That would have taken it to the next level.
But the music... I said that like it's a bad thing. Rihanna's got like banger after banger, and you don't realize it till like she's just rolling banger after banger. Like, this song's great.
And that's something...
This song's great. There's
say,
Umbrella.
I really appreciate it. It's like in a few of the years past, I'd be like, I've kind of heard some of these songs, maybe, but like everything that she rolled out were smash hits.
Yeah, so those were great. I'll say this is a good thing first, then bad. Rihanna was pregnant and still did the Super Bowl halftime show like a boss. Like, that's pretty baller. The other side of that is Rihanna was pregnant and did nothing movement-wise.
Trav wanted more twerking.
She grabbed herself in places that are inappropriate to grab, and that's it.
Mom loved that.
Yeah, I bet.
Shout out, Tear Bear.
But, like, just the choreography, I got Oompa Loompa vibes from the background dancers.
Well, yeah, they were, like, bouncing out to the field. And
I'm not the only one who thought that. I literally saw someone who did a mix-up of showing the Oompa Loompas and then showing the background dancers. And there was weird vibes to me with just the entertainment portion of it. And maybe Katy Perry has spoiled me.
Yeah.
Where I don't even like Katy Perry, but the show was great.
It ruined all other halftime shows.
And
it's
so,
really a losing battle when you sign up for a Super Bowl performance now, because it will never live up to the expectations I have after watching Katy Perry.
She rode
and Bruno
in
Mars
on a robotic lion.
It's the Super Bowl halftime show. This is the greatest. It should be the greatest show, and the music and everything made it good. But the show itself, I wasn't excited about. But I thought it was funny because my group of guys who were watching it, we all felt that way. And then I talked to Hannah, who was watching with a group of girls, and Hannah called me and she's like, "Did you see the halftime show? It was so good." And I was like, "Yeah, I saw it." And they all got really mad at me, and because they loved it, and that's totally fine. The music at Rihanna was a baller, but it was just funny to see the different perspectives. It was polarizing.
I think that's a pet peeve of mine. Every Super Bowl performance, if you go online, everybody's just like, "Oh, she ate," or "He absolutely slayed it." And it's like every single year, I'm like, are there not some of them that are at least just kind of mid?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been feeling like that for.
I think the majority of them are. Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like there's any people saying that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm too picky when it comes to my performances. But like you said, Katy Perry ruined it.
Yep.
If you want to not have to be picky, you were talking about banger after banger, and you were saying that their stage looked like a certain video game. Travis, you are a fan of opera music.
Love it.
After this podcast, I want you to put on the theme song to Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Oh, dude.
Play it at full volume and tell me that doesn't slap.
I have a celebrity crush on the singer of that and follow her all over the place. She does.
No. This is embarrassing that I know. I am not talking about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm talking about Super Smash Bros. Brawl. There is a key difference, although that song is also awesome. But no, Brawl is more of the opera style, where the Ultimate is actually almost more like an anime style, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
well,
it's also switch up.
It
goes really hard.
The one that she does is more anime style, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes, and the one I'm telling you is more like an operatic.
It makes sense
in Latin.
Oh, that's dope. It makes sense that she's more the anime style because she literally does voice acting for a ton of animes now.
One of the dancers almost did fall off of one of the stages.
The elevated ones?
Yeah. So that would have been pretty actiony.
-1 stock.
Well, no, they were hooked in. But
imagine he falls off and just dangles.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, would they cut it? Like, would the show keep going on?
Probably would have went on until he probably would have just dangled the whole time.
There's no shot he could have got back up.
Yeah, but at the end of the show.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He'd be dangling the entire time.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't pay to see that?
I would have loved that. That would have been so funny.
if I'm her, I'm giving like $20K to one of my dancers, and I'm like, hey, you got to fall for me, and this will be the most memorable halftime performance ever. And this person who has no name and will never have a name, all of a sudden, everybody knows.
He's the new Left Shark.
Exactly.
He's the dangling dancer.
I miss Left Shark.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Left Shark. Well, Super Bowl, thank you. It was entertaining. That holding call really was a buzzkill. But at the same time, it fueled all of us in our anger and our controversies and conspiracy theories for another offseason. So maybe that's a good thing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a bad thing because my instant thought is, oh, great, the Lions
Obviously
will
bad.
never win a Super Bowl because they will never get that call.
We talked about this.
I don't know if we came to agreement on it, though.
That level
true.
of call
We didn't
is
agree.
just so beyond what the Lions have been able to receive.
I guess I have to ask, do you guys think it was a penalty?
Okay, the best way I've heard this described is you're driving in a 55 and you're going 60. The issue with that is, yes, technically you're breaking the law. However, 95% of other drivers are also driving that speed. And if you're not driving that speed, you're going to get passed. So defensive backs do that every single play. And they don't call it the majority of the time. So you can call it and influence the game. But that same call, I mean, that play is not being called the majority of the game, and they're doing it every play.
There was not one holding call called in the game on the line. Do you think there was really no holding
Right, exactly.
from the offensive lines the entire game?
They're
All
going
the
to
NFL players do. They will fight tooth and nail to make sure that nobody ever questions the integrity of the game they love.
Yeah, it's because they're getting that side pocket under the table to keep the narrative and script going.
Scripts? You guys are idiots. You think there are scripts? Freaking morons. Don't question the integrity of the NFL.
Good job.
How
There's
dare
no
you?
no. It's crazy.
Thank you.
But yeah, I took it as the opposite, Brand, because I think the Lions they turned a page, and they might be the ones who get calls next year, and we might be in uncharted territory. And it's okay, whether you
still buy
believe it or not, just imagine that happens. Imagine that the Lions are now the lovers of the NFL. The NFL just loves them, and the Lions get all the calls. Just imagine that world. That would be amazing to live in that.
That's a great imaginary world that you have constructed. But what I'm saying is they aren't going to get that call if they're playing a Patrick Mahomes. Or even to go back one step, like if they're playing Joe Burrow, they're not going to get that call. And Joe Burrow couldn't get that call against Patrick Mahomes. There's levels to this. So the Lions might get some more calls. But to get to that level, I think the Lions are probably like a C tier call where they used to be F tier. But Patrick Mahomes is like the S++ tier. He's like the God tier, like galaxy brain tier. And the Lions are just kind of in the thinker pose right now. But they were at like gorillas throwing feces pose, tier. So we're moving up, but
Solid memeing.
Yeah, that's killer. I'm more so looking at will the Lions surpass Patrick Mahomes in getting calls? No.
you'll have to if you ever want to win a Super Bowl.
Yes, but we're not going to win a Super Bowl anytime soon, most likely. And
That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
That was my whole
think
thing.
Of how
was like,
far you've
oh crap,
come.
we're never going to win a Super Bowl.
Think of how far you've come to even entertain the thought of a Lions winning a Super Bowl. We're in this new headspace where we're optimistic about the Lions' chances, one, to get to the playoffs, and then to actually have a successful season through that. And then, getting past Patrick Mahomes is going to take breaking a script. I'm not ready to go there, but who in the NFC is more lovable right now? For some reason, San Fran is pretty lovable, but I don't know.
Well, they're always hurt.
don't like San Fran, but
No, I don't either.
I would say
I
the
think
Eagles.
people generally do.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
The
I
Eagles.
think they generated a lot of goodwill with how they played.
But I
And
think
Jalen
the
Hurts is very likable.
Yeah.
dude has won over a ton of people with how he played and what he talked about, his character. Yeah.
He's
the
a
Eagles
good-looking
might be
dude,
number
too.
one.
That never
Yeah.
hurts.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Ah.
Oh, we need to do a shout out to one of my predictions from this year with the NFL.
No.
You know who ended up playing in the Pro Bowl?
Did we have a bet attached to that, or was it just a thing?
I might have not accepted a bet because, but we don't need to talk about that part right now.
Yeah.
Jared Goff played in the Pro Bowl, and my prediction was exactly that he would be a Pro Bowler, not based on like getting voted in right away, but he played good enough to get
an
into the Pro
alternate.
Bowl, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. You
So I want you guys to remember that when we get to the Jonesies,
I was gonna
next
say,
Jonesies.
we gotta
Yes.
mark that down. You really called exactly how that would play out. That was
To
impressive.
be fair, I think maybe Cody and I didn't understand just the low bar that was, because when Travis texted us the photo of Goff like into the Pro Bowl, I responded with an image of Tyler Huntley also making the Pro Bowl, and he had I think 7 touchdowns and like 9 interceptions this year,
Yeah,
and
a
he had
guy
less
who
than like 1,000 yards.
who was a backup quarterback almost
He
all
was
year.
a backup the entire year until like
Best
Lamar
to do
got
it.
hurt.
Oh man! So shout out Jared Goff. We spent a lot of time talking about the Lions, but
Yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate the optimism, Trev. We need that balance from time to time. So to carry on that wave, let's talk some Michigan basketball, boys.
Oh,
oh, code just samurai death.
all right. So I, in a previous pod, I was trying to carry the torch of optimism as Trav was just doing then, in trying to push the ball down the road, or like try to avoid having to fire Juwan Howard right away.
And that's where you're still at?
I've watched a couple games, and I'm
Free
like, you know
Juwan.
what? I might have been wrong, because this is awful. I saw something that said this year, because just recently there's been some NBA mock drafts, and there are 2 players on Michigan right now getting mocked in the first round, Jet and Kobe. And then you think to yourself, okay, so you've got 2 possible first-round NBA draft picks plus a former All-American in Hunter Dickinson, and you can't make the big dance. You can't make the NCAA tournament.
You're not saying win the national championship. You're not saying
no.
make
I'm
the Final
I'm saying
Four.
make the
You're
tournament.
saying make the tournament.
Like, you have 3 studs. You just have to have the other 2 guys just competently present. And
We're reacting because we have the celebrity NBA game on in the background,
yeah.
and somebody just hit a half-court shot to win it.
It was a walk-off 4-point bucket.
What?
Yeah.
Who was
think
it?
I think it was well after the buzzer, actually, but it's the celebrity game.
They
I think they
might
might
not.
accept it. I can't
Yeah.
tell who it was. It's off in the distance, but
Giannis is celebrating. I don't think he cares what the decision's going to be. He's
Now-
getting that as a win.
oh, it was the what's his name? He's a wrestler, the Miz.
Oh, I was hoping it was Guillermo.
That would be amazing. Yeah, look at it. It is red.
Oh.
It's not
It's a
even
good
close. to
half
being-
second after that buzzer went off.
We had to explain because usually when we have something on in the background, we're not visual. And now the people are going to be watching us and just seeing us going, oh.
We really need to. Yeah, we need to have the screen right in front of us.
We do.
I don't know how we're going to do that in the future, but
All right, let's get back on track, Bran. Thanks for distracting us.
that was
Yeah,
fun.
my
I don't
bad.
want to go back to Michigan basketball.
Yeah, that was fun.
Who picked this
Now we got to
topic?
go back to Michigan basketball.
This sucks.
So
we
basically,
need a secondary basketball team like we did with football.
Ooh.
We did that for football when Michigan football is awesome. We need to do that for basketball. Who's going to be our dark horse March Madness team?
I feel like we can pick that team
Kinda
once
like
we
that.
have a bracket.
Ooh, do we do it?
Because if
Yeah.
we pick a second team now, they're not going to make the tournament.
We do have a tendency to pick other teams who are only going to, tear our hearts out and just torture us relentlessly.
Right.
So yeah, you're right.
I guess all of that to say, I might be coming around. I still have no idea who I would pick as a replacement. But I don't know. Are you guys like 100% on the fire Juwan Howard train right now? Or you still think like, hey, we should just chalk it up to a bad season and then try to develop and improve next year?
It's tough because, in my opinion, this season is already washed.
Yes.
So at that point, I like getting ahead of the game in the coaching search, but I also like giving him the rest of the year to try and figure things out.
No, I'm talking about like after this year's over because
Yeah.
they're not going to fire him right now. What I'm just saying is like they're not making the tournament short of a miraculous Big Ten run, which that's impossible, right? Like,
Well, yeah, but I think there's a difference between kind of having it made up in your mind and still. I guess what I'm saying is maybe even give it. I don't want to give him a whole nother season. That's That's the tough thing. That's a body reaction. It's not necessarily what I feel in my brain, but what I feel in my heart is I don't want to watch another season of Juwan Howard basketball. So maybe that's just my answer. Maybe I'm just done with him. I mean, he's drawn enough drama to the program to begin with. You got to bring results if you're going to do that, and he hasn't. I do like giving people enough time to grow, as we've mentioned, because we're, as fans, really quick to jump off of people's bandwagons as soon as they have a tough stretch. And tough is calling it generous. But I don't know where my heart's at. I don't want to watch any more Juwan basketball. So I'm torn. I don't know what the right decision is. I want to see maybe like one more year, but I don't want to watch it.
What? I agree with you, Code, that I think they're going to give him one more year. And I'm a little okay with that because sometimes it is the group you got. And, I mean, there's stuff you don't see behind the scenes, and we can see what Juwan does and what this team's doing. It's easy to blame Juwan. And right now, if we all voted as Juwan a good coach, I think the whole world would say no. But there's a chance. That was way more optimistic than I planned on going because one of the things you said last week, Bran, when we were talking about when you were trying to be positive was who do we get that would be better than Juwan right now? And it was hard to answer for us last week. And now, if you ask that this week, I'm like,
A cardboard box?
I'd take. He's just adding to his resume of being a bad coach by the calls he makes out of timeouts, the lineups he puts out,
Fighting with his players?
yeah, blaming his players.
Nepotism?
There was somebody put out the stat of Juwan's record of last second end of game situations when he has a chance to call a play, and he's like 1-9, and the one was an overtime win. Like they didn't even get the job done in regulation. Not to complain about an overtime win, I wouldn't if that record was different.
Wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
So you can.
I think it was Oakland.
Oh, it was Oakland. Yeah.
Yeah, I know who
Less
posted
than a
that.
Mac school.
He's me. I retweeted it, but it was
I saw that from you.
I probably figured you saw it when I posted that. It's sad. That was I loved the post because it had really good information, but holy cow. I don't think I've ever watched a more depressing video compilation of every end of game set Michigan has ever run. All of them were bad.
Mm-hmm. It was really painful for me because those tournament plays,
Oh man,
I was at that game.
just an all-timer.
That was one of the saddest I've been at a game. That was something that put a nail in the coffin for me. Like we've been talking about his late game coaching for 2 years now. Even before he screwed up in the tournament with some late game coaching. we were talking about it because it was visible. You can see that out of these timeouts, they don't draw up anything good. These last few times, the world is begging him to just get it down low to Hunter Dickinson.
Yeah.
And even if you get it down to him, he can kick it out because they suck in onto him. The defense does. Instead, they just pass it out to Jet to get a horrible shot up. He's done that twice this year, at least twice. 2 I can remember, but I'm guessing it'll be more. Jet's a really good shooter, and I like his chances of making a shot, but that's a horrible drawn-up play.
Yeah, when you're down 1.
Yeah. You're down 1 off, yeah. But even just let's just draw it up to get it to our best shooter and just let him, like, you don't set screen. You just as long as we get the ball into him. It seems like that's what he drew up. He drew up screens to get Jet open, to receive the ball, but not to be open to shoot the ball. And it's ridiculously poor.
Really just seems like it was too big of a jump for him, going from an assistant in the NBA to having his own program at Michigan. And that's kind of why I wanted to see him have more time. I don't think this is the best that we can see from Juwan. I think he has the potential to grow. But the more I think about that, you should have that chance to grow at a lesser program. You don't need to be learning on the job at Michigan. We expect to be making deep runs in March. And to be fair, he's had a pretty good track record in March. And that's one of the things that, gives him a bit more staying power and makes it kind of a little bit of a controversy for some people and for me as well, because I'm scared of us getting an even worse option. But, man, you can't be learning on the job at Michigan. Not at least to the extent that he needs to learn. So I think I came at this a little bit soft compared to what I'm really feeling. I think it might be time for him to go. I don't think I'm mentally prepared to handle season 2.
I think to maybe
another season, anyways,
help us make this determination. If the late game drawn up plays, if that is not going to improve, which I think track record says it hasn't, is that like a big enough issue that no matter if the other stuff doesn't get fixed? So in my opinion, probably the number one issue with this team is the roster construction, that if he's able to kind of cycle in some new guys and out some of the non-contributors, that they could have a lot better team in the future. But if the drawn-up plays does not change ever, is that a big enough roadblock for you to say, yeah, let's just cut ties now? Because in his career, we have not seen any improvement whatsoever in that area, so we don't have an expectation it's going to improve in the future.
Yeah, absolutely it is, because in college, coaching actually matters, and every play counts. It's not like the NBA where nothing really matters till the fourth quarter. You have to make the most of every opportunity. And so you're going to get maybe even more games that are coming down to that last possession. You have to really know what you're doing. You have to be a lot more clinical in your construction of your team, in your preparation. You have to have these guys running like a well-oiled machine. It's so night and day from the NBA, where Juwan is used to, where you kind of just let your stars like run the show. You try and manage them, but at the end of the day, you're getting the ball into LeBron's hands, or you're getting the ball into Steph's hands, and you're letting him cook. It's not like that as much in college. And so he's done really well because he's had really, really good players. But we've seen, like you mentioned, some of these last runs in March making some really questionable calls and really stunting their runs short when we saw teams that really could have been Final Four teams. That is a tough pill to swallow, and you can't get away with that at the college level for long. And we're finally starting to see that. We got Juwan's guys now, and they do have a talented group, but he can't manage them. And if you can't manage them, you're not going to be able to succeed. I didn't think that word was hard at the college level long term.
Yep, I 100% agree. And you talk about managing the guys on his team. He's literally blaming them for not doing what he's calling up. I'm like, well, that's not always the case, Juwan, because we just watched a compilation video of every last play, and I'm sure they were doing your play some of the time, and they all were really, really bad. So maybe that's why they were freelancing out there, because they lost trust in the play. They're like, well, it's just drawn up to Jet, so Let's just maybe try to play good basketball instead.
Yeah, wouldn't you freelance if that's the crap that's getting drawn up for you night in and night out? The coach is going to blame you for your team's failures anyways. Might as well give him reason to.
Yeah, in college basketball, there's room for effort and like coaching. Like you said, Code, every play matters. And like in the NBA, it's different where it's offensive minded. There's some defense, but it's more like just flashy defense. You get to take some breaks up and down the court, and then you sub in like your whole team off for the third quarter. It's very different. And Juwan coaches like the NBA style in a college world where that just doesn't seem to work, especially when you don't have a roster of NBA talented guys. In the NBA, all of them made it to the NBA. There's literally one of my favorite college basketball players. He is playing in like Latvia right now. I follow him on Instagram, and he's
Is that Winston Bishop?
pretty much.
It's all about those Lutz.
He was so good, and he not Winston Bishop, and he's playing in a small country overseas. So the NBA has guys. It's the player pool is so deep. So when you're playing 10 deep in the NBA, 12 deep, you're still getting an NBA guy on the floor in resting your starters. That's not the case in college basketball. When you're going 7, 8, 9, those guys aren't going to be NBA players. There's a very different skill set. I love Cheddar. Cheddar's not going to be an NBA player. He's slow. Jace is not going to be an NBA player. And not to trash on him, but it leaves that room for that effort and coachability and putting in schemes that make your team a winner in college basketball and something that makes the sport lovely.
So to be clear, you wouldn't take Cheddar over Jet any day?
Shut up, Code.
So you know how one of my big hangups was that I didn't have someone to replace Juwan Howard.
I'm ready for it. Who is it, Bran?
I am shooting for the moon because he's currently coaching the number 1 basketball team in the nation. Nate Oates at Alabama.
Awesome.
Go on.
Former high school coach in the state of Michigan at Romulus.
Yeah.
So he's got state history. He was there for like over a decade in high school. And now he's proven it at the college basketball level. And if you watch the Alabama game, I do like their style. So I don't know if you can get him to come with what he's got cooking at Alabama right now, but Michigan is more of a basketball school than Alabama. That's like easily said. So if I'm Ward Manuel, I'm making him say no. I know that's like something everyone says, but
if you're Ward Manuel, you're just sitting on your couch eating a hot dog,
taking a nooner.
I got no trust in that guy doing good for Michigan anymore.
All right, Santa Ono can call Nate Oates.
There you go.
There we go.
Our
and
real
say, I have
director.
presents for you in Ann Arbor.
Can't say no to Santa.
No.
I would
Nate
be
Oates might.
so excited about Nate Oates at Michigan, but I doubt that's even realistic. But that's just something to chew on a bit.
Do you think like former Michiganders have a similar sense of state pride that we do when they move down south and they're living in the sunshine every day? Like, do you think somebody like Nate, would feel that draw to come back to Michigan? Or do you think it would really only just be because Michigan is a basketball school? Because Alabama has been cooking up something special the past couple of years. They've been punching well above their weight comparatively to where they've been before this recent stretch of years where they've been actually, I wouldn't say favorites, but a team that people would pick often to make a deep run in March the past few years.
Well, he's not from Michigan. He's actually from Wisconsin. But if he has if he has a pull of the North, then that could be, Wisconsin and Michigan have somewhat similar characteristics.
Except for in basketball. Screw those guys.
No, I just meant
Holy
the
cow.
states. I meant the states, not their basketball programs.
We're stretching, though. I got a special place in my heart for Wisconsin, and Michigan is also in the north. I'm going to go there.
Well, I'm just saying.
I would rather
Screw my number one ranked basketball team.
No, you were
They
just
can
saying
kick rocks.
if he's
agree,
having
though,
fun
a
in
little
the
bit,
South.
Bran,
I
because
don't think there's any pull there.
I would rather coach at Wisconsin than Alabama, just because I love the Midwest more than the SEC. Like, if I
Midwest
grew up a
rules.
Big Ten person, I'd rather coach at a Big Ten historic program.
So you'd
than-
also prefer to sell your soul and be a part of the Wisconsin basketball program?
So that Wisconsin-Michigan like beef is new, and in the past, Wisconsin was work hard, grit. They had guys who were gritty on the basketball court. Now they're just dirty. now it's just a cesspool instead of a basketball stadium. Yeah, you heard me, Wisconsin.
I don't know. I don't know what most people gravitate towards. I gravitate towards the warm weather, man. If I'm not going to be like in Michigan, I wouldn't just say, yeah, I'm going Wisconsin over Alabama. Alabama's kind of cool.
Oh, Alabama's super dope. That would be a pretty great job. But
Miss me with Alabama summers, but the rest of the time, I'm in.
if I'm Nate Oates from Wisconsin, I would definitely consider it. But I would also not consider it for the reasons of he's building something awesome there. And Alabama with Nate Oates could become a powerhouse at both football and basketball. And that's pretty dope to be the one that makes them relevant. When you are the powerhouse of college football and now to even have your basketball program in talks of being like up there, it's pretty dope. He's done a great job.
Put the tweet
What
out
I
there,
have-
Bran. Get the momentum started.
All right,
Nate Oates to
yeah.
Michigan.
Well, what I have found that maybe you don't want to live in one state over another. Sometimes you can find 1 million or 2 or 3 million reasons to live in one state over another. And if Michigan doubles his salary, maybe he reconsiders. Michigan has got a decent chunk of change just sitting doing squat right now. Or that chunk of change is just letting their sons play more basketball than they should. So they just try. It's just tough when you see a guy who's got Michigan history who, he was a high school basketball coach for a long time. And then he was a MAC basketball coach. I mean, he's got Midwest through his veins. So that's just one. Just off the top of my head, I was like, "Wait, Nate Oates, he was in Michigan for a while." Because I was just thinking while we were potting, and I was like, "You know what? Let's do better because this is unacceptable." But at the same time, if they don't fire him, I'm like, "Yeah, okay, let's see what next year brings." Because Nate Oates would be a tough sell. I'm not gonna say it's easy.
If we can't get Nate Oates, there's a few other guys that I would take over Juwan now. Because
Brad Stevens,
the question's a lot
Pat
easier.
Riley.
I would even go easier. Give me Sadie Washington. He's been on that bench since Beeline. He knows that system. Give me Phil Martelli when he gets healthy again, is back on the bench. I love Phil. And you're gonna get that hard nosed grit from Phil. We saw it when he was coaching in the interim last year. But I do think he probably gets another year. Juwan does, and if it gets to the point where it's just still going bad next year, I think best case scenario is at Wisconsin.
Go off flying.
The season's over. Juwan just says, "I'm out." And
punches somebody?
Yes.
Yeah.
He goes out swinging. And it gives Michigan a reason, like, hey, we got to let you go now. And he's like, makes sense. And we get to see just Wisconsin get whooped up on. I'm not really condoning this violence.
What have we come to as a fan base? Wouldn't it be awesome if our coach went out in a blaze of fury and just absolutely wallop somebody?
If it was a coach that I wanted to stick around, no, that wouldn't be awesome. But if we're looking for a reason to fire him, then great. But no, that's another thing. Like he's literally slapped a coach, and he's coached bad. Like how long of a leash does Juwan get? And I feel like it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And if he is let go this year, makes sense. But to cap off my last words on it, we were this hard on Harbaugh a few years ago as well. When COVID came around, that was kind of the cap to us. We're like, Harbaugh needs to go. And they were horrible that year. They had 2 wins in a shortened season, and they were able to turn it around. Doing the same thing Harbaugh does, but just little tweaks here and there. I'm not going to put it out of the realm of possibility that Juwan can figure it out and get things rolling. Because look at this season even. There have been like 7 games that Michigan should have won. It might be more than that. They show it every Michigan game now, like last minute, like how many close games they had. And they've lost all of them pretty much this year. Just a few different plays throughout that game, and Michigan wins those games. Michigan could be this sounds crazy, but they could be a top 25 team if they just won those close games. And all of those games we were watching saying Michigan should have won that game.
Well, it's not crazy because there's been that many of them.
Yeah.
You give those a W, and Michigan's record looks great.
So if we look at it from that lens, if he can figure something out, like it's just 1 or 2 plays difference, and Michigan wins those games. And if they do that, we're a pretty decently ranked March Madness team.
Have a nice win over Purdue if we did that.
So, yeah.
That builds the resume a fair amount.
Over Purdue, over North Carolina, over Kentucky. There's a lot of quad 1 teams there that Michigan should have beat.
Can it be football season again?
And to give Juwan maybe a little bit more credit, there's a certain wing for Illinois who was pretty much confirmed to come to Michigan, who's averaging 17 points a game. We know that wing has been a troublesome position for Michigan this year, and if Michigan was able to admit him, this whole season could be way different. I'm actually confident it would be very, very different. So, yeah, I think that Terrence Shannon fiasco really is maybe the first domino that fell to get us to this point in the season. And I don't blame Juwan for that. I think that one falls on the university and on the stupid Texas Tech coach, Mark Adams. What a tool.
Oh, yeah. What a horrible to deny the credits.
Karma, because Texas Tech is terrible this year. Reap what you sow, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful, Mark. Juwan Howard will slap you.
Oh, man.
We may not be able to beat you on the court, but we got a coach who will. So. You've been warned. At least we got that to hang on to, right?
Yeah.
That's about as perfect a line to end on as any, huh?
I think so, Code.
Wait, are we just done?
I think we are. You want to send us home?
I guess. Go home, everyone. I've been keeping it short and sweet lately. Thanks for joining us on the pod, everybody. Hope we didn't bring you down too much with talk of Michigan basketball. Hopefully they're able to bring things around a little bit. We'd also love to hear your thoughts. Should Schwan go?
Sheshwan?
Is it time for Schwan to go?
Sheshwan go?
Give us your thoughts. Put them on the Discord. Put them in the mailbag. Mailbag was a fun segment that we had in our last pod, especially when we were live. We got to address some of your questions and additional ones that you guys shared with us through the comments.
Hey, if you're really down, too, on what we were talking about, basketball's got you down, Lions, get into hockey, dude. The Red Wings are fighting for a playoff spot. Michigan hockey has been dope. If you're a Michigan State fan, get into the Red Wings. It's exciting times to be a hockey fan, and I think it's a crime that more people aren't hockey fans because what a sport, what athletes,
absolutely.
What just beasts to do what they do, and they get to fight, and it's part of the sport. You get a 5 for fighting penalty, and then you can come back in the game.
And fight
Imagine
again.
other sports. Yeah, and then you can just fight again. If you do, maybe they'll kick you out the rest of the game. But, you know,
Maybe.
you're not suspended. You don't get fined. You get applauded as you leave. And the team literally will post a highlight video of your fight and applaud you. That happens nowhere else. Hockey is awesome.
So, moral of the story is there's still some fun stuff to be talked about in the Michigan sports sphere. So make sure to share with us your thoughts. Drop them in the Discord. Shoot us a comment. Also, give us a call. 2345 MI Cody. We love to hear from you guys. That's the best way to do it. Our favorite way to interact with you on the pod. Regardless, we appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Jonesing for Sports podcast, and we will see you guys in the next one. And Ohio sucks. Don't forget that.
Ohio sucks. I was worried you weren't going to say it.
Had you there for a second.